Well, William, hello once again, and it's another Wednesday night fight back, and it's a bit of a strange one this week because I want to talk about story, about the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that our political parties try and tell us, and of course, the link that that has to optimism, hope, and actually basically practical politics.
This is a really interesting topic, Michael. You're distinguishing, I think, between story, which is vision and knowing where you want to get to as a society, and just mere narrative, which is the day-to-day comms and things we've talked about before.
Yeah, I mean, I view narrative as being story's evil little brother who won't shut up. And it doesn't really matter what the narrative is, because narrative is not embedded in anything greater. So if you change the narrative, it doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter because it's not connected to anything. And
there's a superficiality, isn't there, in politics, a sort of shallowness which people detect. And there's a lot of demoralization. Obviously, we have to be honest, there's a lot of demoralization in the West anyway. And the very deep roots, cultural reasons for that, probably the loss of our principal belief system, Christianity. There isn't any going back from that. I think we have to find some other way of believing in the future.
Well, we've tried so many ways, haven't we? I mean, Christianity died, so we got Marx and Freud, and that was no good. We got modernity, which brought us fascism. We then got the fight against communism. I mean, we've got all these things, and finally, what's our latest belief system? Globalization and technology, and that's kind of not working out too well.
Yeah, or materialism and cheap trinketry stuff. I get that. I mean, I think the SDP's type of politics has much stronger foundations because it is based on family. If where you live, the place, your neighborhood, where you live. If I ask people, about meaning, no parent or no one that's embedded in the community has difficulty in explaining what it is. It's those you love. It's far more powerful force than I think any other force in the world, probably. I think get back to the politics. I gave a speech the other day, a couple of weeks ago in London, and did a long Q&A. And the person that invited me, it was quite a well-known organization, said, "It's lovely to have a conviction politician here." And it's funny, I've never really imagined myself as that, but compared to other people that have turned up, he said, you actually had an idea of what you wanted. And I do feel very, very strongly about what we promote, what we desire. I'm not changing. I've always said, if you don't like it, find another alternative. So, that is quite old fashioned in some respects compared to the sort of comms based frenzy that we have from people like Starmer. I mean, Starmer, as I say, he's the focus of it at the moment because he chops and changes all the time. And there can be many reasons for that, but primarily probably the main reason he doesn't know what he wants. I mean, he hasn't thought about it.
Well, I think
diagnosis is.
I think that goes to the whole party, doesn't it? I mean, they constantly hark back to the 1950s, to the Attlee government. And there's a reason for that, because Attlee actually had a vision of what he wanted. Now, you may not agree with it, or you may agree with it, but at least they had a genuine story and they were prepared to go and act on that story. They don't have that now. They just rely on not being the Tories.
As I say, I think the biggest problem is that the political class isn't thinking very hard about diagnosing what the problems are. And if you don't diagnose it, you can't possibly have a program. And if you don't have a program that you will put forward with passion, you're not offering anything to the public. You're just doing marketing effectively. Another thing is very important is actually that a leader that is prepared to stick to a position, and actually have the conviction of doing it. You get the impression that I blame the comms culture. I think that's the death knell of any serious political activity in SW1 where I'm speaking from. It's just comms. I mean, they're just brought up on this. So it's it's very, very short term. We're not thinking about serious problems. And also another thing is that they're not very honest with the public. I mean, the SDP is prepared to say that adapting away from our the major addictions that the country has, which is massive over-reliance on imported labor, mass immigration and debt. And those are the two addictions. Now, again, the political class is not prepared to be honest with the public about the fact that we've got to get off those, move away from those two things. And there will be some adjustment and there will be a degree of pain, but it would be better in the long run if we did so. But Michael, this is the thing about seriousness and actually the ability to properly understand what's going on. So the New Statesman, which is the left's, prime national magazine, had a piece on its front page about housing this week.
Yeah, I saw it. Yes, I saw it.
Yeah, and I scrawled on it on the train just as if I was a schoolmaster. It really ought to have been in red pen. But anyway, I scrawled on it, and they didn't mention state capacity in house building. They just didn't see that was important. I mean, there's lots of ideas, and they deserve credit for mentioning mass immigration as a causal factor in the pressure of the housing crisis, but even that magazine couldn't bring itself to understand what is going to be required. And it's if that's what they're thinking, then I think we're in trouble.
Well, yes, I mean the chances of Mr. Starmer dealing with the housing crisis, nil, absolutely nil, obviously,
no,
because
nil.
Why would you expect him to do anything that would disrupt?
Yeah. Well, he can't. But the problem with Starmer, I mean, I've mentioned this before on housing a few times. He can't. I mean, the right, well, it's not really. I don't know what it is. The Tories actually, there's some sort of liberal party, but they say they want the private sector to increase house building, but they're in favour of mass immigration, so that'll stop it. So that probably the worst combination is the Tories, and then Labour on this is so keen on mass immigration that it won't, whatever it does on at the tiny scale on housing, won't be effective. So the winning numbers is to have a look at a mass immigration pause and get the state back involved, and that will do the heavy lifting.
If you did that, it would have I think an almost revolutionary effect on people, because it would realise that you can get things done, you can solve problems, and this is. Actually, I want to end on this because there's a guy called David Deutsch, and he's written various books, and it's about optimism and about the future. And his basic point is this: there will always be problems. Mankind will always face problems. But if we use our intelligence and are open-minded and determined, we will beat all problems. So far, we have beaten all the problems that nature and history can throw at us, all of them. We have survived. And there is no reason at all why we shouldn't muster that optimism, muster that determination, and crucially keep our minds open to deal and solve the problems that we have here in Britain.
I totally agree. And I think on housing, we have a policy, we know what we want to do, and we have the will to do it. And basically those are the two conditions to solving the problem. I'm very optimistic. If you have those two things, you can solve it, no doubt.
Well, something always beats nothing, and so with luck, William, one day we will see you striding up Downing Street into number 10, and we can get some damn things done.
Great, thank you very much, Michael. Kind.
All right. See you.